Jacob, get your head in the game.
Gotta get your head in the game. Gotta get your head in the game.
Classic for us that the one movie we've gotten so far that's an actual musical, I don't got a good musical opening.
We're all in this together.
That's a little on the nose, but yes, that's what we do here at A Whole New Pod, the podcast all about Disney Channel original movies. We watch them. And we've gotten, finally, I'm Lucas Melby, by the way. That's Jacob Telejohn.
Yeah.
We do this together. Always.
Always.
Together.
Yeah.
We're all in this.
Together.
Sometimes.
We're all.
We did it. We made it to this point.
The pinnacle of DCOM.
Some might say a paradigm shift.
Wow.
Things might not ever be the same after this point, except for probably the next couple months of DCOM releases, because it's
Cowbells.
they had an idea maybe when they were making High School Musical, but I don't think they could have anticipated
didn't know it was going to be a phenomenon.
how big of a hit this was. And
a phenomenon.
my exposure to High School Musical going into this was very limited.
Something that just came to me. I think I might have had like a pack of High School Musical pencils.
I thought you were going to
in
say
school.
collectible trading cards or something.
I bet they made some.
I think in 8th grade, can't do the math off the top of my head when I was in 8th grade, which is a sly way to hide my age.
Oh.
But I was in 8th grade past when High School Musical came out, so you can do the math there. That we watched some of it, but all I basically remember is gotta get your head in the game. In my opinion, that's probably the worst song in the movie. I feel
It's probably
I don't know if they really
one of the
have
more popular songs in the movie. It's probably the second most popular.
Yeah, I don't know if Zac Efron's got not that Zac Efron was the one singing in this movie, but I don't know if he's got the hip hop chops for kind of rapping song like that. But we're all over the place as we want to be. Jacob, I guess what you said you had some High School Musical
I think
pencils.
so, or I've seen them. I don't know. I remember High School Musical
Jacob
pencils.
literally knew. Well, I should say I knew some of the lyrics in this movie, but I feel like Jacob knew more than
I
me.
was singing along quite a bit. I don't remember all the movie. Like I remember probably singing, like I told you before we started, probably like bits and parts. Like I never sat down and watched it in its entirety. I maybe saw 20 minutes here, 30 minutes. Because I mean they probably played it all the time after it came out. It was probably on like all the time. So when I wonder what's on.
Before we get into it, I'll give some kind of brief background research. Starting off with, in classic A Whole New Pod fashion, rewinding back to Twitches, because I never do the research going into the movie, but then I often do it afterwards. So some context for Twitches that will also be interesting for High School Musical. So this is from Wikipedia, so I don't know exactly how accurate it is, but fun fact, apparently the budget for Twitches was $20 million.
What?
Which in today's cash would be $36 million.
Why?
I don't know. I can't believe that's right. The effects were so bad. I don't think Tia and Tamara would fetch that high of paychecks.
And where are they getting where is that money coming from that they're making back on it?
And then I don't really see I don't think they usually post stuff like that for Disney Channel movies.
No.
For other context, apparently the first High School Musical at the time was $4.2 million. So I think definitely a better return on investment
I would
there.
Say, well, that's weird.
Twitches, I think, would have been closer or around the highest views for an initial DCOM. It had like 7 million viewers. So
maybe a lot of that was into marketing, maybe even.
Possibly.
A lot of that could have been marketing.
And so despite what me and Jacob wondered in the last episode, apparently there was still a rabid Tia and Tamara fan base that wanted to watch Twitches.
Yeah.
Looking into the books, it seems that they are very much unlike the books, unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
Some of the background details are similar to Sister Sister, but they've kind of amped it up with Tia and Tamara to really hit that home. I think they're both white in the books. I believe in the first book they're 14 or 15 as opposed to 21.
21, yeah.
And the more like artsy one is very much, I think, kind of emo and goth in the book compared to Tia and Tamara.
Yeah.
A lot of the family stuff seems accurate. Even the Coventry characters, the relationship between like their uncle and all that stuff, that was still there.
Yeah.
But the ages I mean, and even then, Tia and Tamara were, I think, 27 playing 21-year-olds who, from the books, were actually 15-year-olds. Yeah. So I think, as weird as it's probably to say, if there were Twitches fans of the books, they were not very probably happy.
I mean, there's still Twitches 2 to come.
You know it.
They're going to be like
and
30
High School
years
Musical
old.
2.
And 3.
So High School Musical, I got this from IMDb. The IMDb, unsurprisingly, since this movie is so popular, the IMDb, I think, goofs when I was just trying to like kill some time at work, and I usually look at some of these movies. There'll maybe be like 5 things. I think the goofs section alone had 80-something entries.
Oh my.
And a lot of them, it's like people are way too in this movie, so they're like, this person was screwed up in this one dance scene. They didn't do the choreography right, and, you know, stuff that non-maniacs wouldn't see.
Yeah.
But some interesting stuff that I culled. Filmed in 24 days.
Wow.
Which I think probably a lot of these DCOM productions are pretty quick turnarounds.
I mean, like, even with all the dance things they had to remember to figure that all out in under a month.
So this movie, since it's so popular, I think there's more known about it.
Yeah.
That probably, you know, there's DVD releases with commentary tracks and stuff like that, where there's just not the demand for a lot of the other DCOMs.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing is the soundtrack was apparently recorded in 5 days. So 24 days of filming, only 5 days of recording.
Jeez.
And then this, I think, went on to be, you know, go multi-platinum, multiple songs in the Hot 100 or whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. Apparently, High School Musical, I think this is really funny. The title was a working title, but then they eventually just went with it because they didn't have anything better for it than just
I mean, it's so bland, but it's so good.
It's exactly what this movie is.
Yeah.
And it was actually nominated for 6 Primetime Emmy Awards.
Wow, they didn't win anything.
It won 2.
Oh.
It won for choreography with the whatever field and outstanding children's program.
Okay.
So, you know, Emmy Award winning High School Musical. So now let's get into it. But I think first, something that we don't really do too often, maybe beyond like our first episode or so, is kind of do a little taste calibration to clue in the audience. So for this one, Jacob, how do you normally feel generally
about musicals? I don't really watch them like on TV. Like it's not like I don't like Mamma Mia and, you know, like
here we go again.
Like that's not really my thing. But like I would watch musicals like in theater. You know, I would go to a theater to watch a musical, but not on TV. I don't know if that makes sense.
Do you mean the theater?
The theatre.
Yeah, I think I'm generally pro musicals. Obviously, I love the Disney
West Side Story
2D animated musicals, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Little Mermaid. They're all technically musicals.
They are. See, I didn't really.
But even live action ones, I'm not like someone who's like, this is weird. Why are they singing? I'm not one of those people. I'm not saying I love every musicals, but
I don't seek them out. It's not like, oh,
I seek some of them out, and I'm always musicals. Like open. I want to like a musical, but sometimes they don't always hit. For instance, like I watched the Disney production or the release of like Hamilton, and I'm like, it was good, but I didn't lose my mind over it. I think I liked In the Heights a little more, but that also had the benefit of it being made into a movie, so it's more theatricality. I like Sweeney Todd, so I remember liking Mamma Mia, so I think I'm much more going into this.
You're pro musical.
Maybe surprising to some of the audience, I was much more open to liking this movie. And I did end up liking this movie a lot.
It was fun. We were able to tell like early on after that. We haven't talked about it, but after they do like their first dance sequence and like, you know, sing song, I'm like, this is. Well,
the first dance sequence was "Get Your Head in the Game," so I was like, maybe still not sold on that.
But it felt
the choreography was good for that one.
It felt different than a lot of movies we had seen.
And I kind of had already tipped my hat for this with how much I'm excited for Zombies and Zombies 2, but I'm all in on the musical future of Disney Channel original movies. I can
get behind that. That's fair.
Finally, let's get to this movie.
Get our head in this pod.
It starts like other Disney Channel original movies. We get the title card pop up. A Disney Channel original movie, seemingly in the same font as all of the others.
Starring Zac Efron. That's the first name they show. Vanessa Ann Hudgens.
This is one where probably if you're listening to this podcast, you've watched High School Musical, but for us, this is still a group of names
we
know outside of High School Musical, and makes
Zac
sense
Efron,
to maybe call out.
Vanessa Hudgens, Ashley Tisdale, Corbin Blue.
I feel like Corbin Blue kind of just exists within the Disney sphere.
He kind of maybe,
but he's got a very funny name.
Yeah,
like I always think of Cordon Bleu.
Yes, exactly.
So we open up on a snowy New Year's Eve night at a ski resort.
Yeah.
My first reaction to some of the stuff here is I'm like, this still looks like a DCOM. I was expecting something different from High School Musical. But quickly as the movie goes along, it does look better than a normal DCOM.
Yes.
And in similar vein as when we praise the movie, I would think this movie stands on its own as a movie and not a DCOM.
Yes. I mean, it would have done well in theater. It would have done really well in theaters. I mean, the third one ends up going to the theater.
Maybe at one point a whole new pod will go to the movies and watch High School Musical 3, but not until we get through all the other Disney Channel original movies.
Special bonus episode.
So we're checking in with our main characters who both serendipitously happen to be at this ski resort. Gabriella, who we see...
Gabriella, yes, we're introduced to her first.
Vanessa Hudgens, of course.
Yes.
She is reading a book, showing that she's smart, and her mom's like, Gabriella, it's New Year's Eve. Go to the kids' New Year's Eve party. Yes. She's like, but Mom, I want to read.
I want to be a nerd.
And then we see Troy, who is with his dad, Zac Efron, is playing basketball at the ski resort's gym.
Yes.
And his mom comes in.
Is this why we came here to play basketball? And then both Papa and...
His mom in the only appearance of her in the movie.
Like later on, like I was going to ship, their parents, but that's not possible unless, polygamy's a thing in whatever state they're in. But
I think the high school they filmed at was actually in Utah.
Oh, let's go.
I could be wrong on that, though.
It was set up.
So they both end up going to this kid's New Year's Eve party so that the parents can go to a swingers New Year's Eve party or something.
So, and there's people doing karaoke, and they just randomly grab Gabriella.
There's like a DJ or MC kind of running it, and he sees them both being like, I don't know about this, and he calls them out, hey, shine the spotlight on him, get him up here. Yeah. So they're singing a karaoke song, and I think they do a good job of, they're both good singers. Should be noted that Zac Efron is not the singing voice in this one.
Yeah.
He does his singing in the other ones, but I don't know if there was some weird production reason where he wasn't like available to do the actual sound recording, or maybe he didn't have like the best voice training at that point.
But they're both very hesitant to sing. But he starts, and he's never sang before, I don't think. Like it seems like it's like a new thing for him.
Well, and you might think that the name of the song is "Start of Something New," so it is obviously a very on point thing for it to be a new thing for him.
So he starts singing, and then like. There are like words, like we see the karaoke screen, and it has like
explain what karaoke is to me, Jake.
So I'm just saying. So the text on the screen, it's blue for guys and pink for girls. For the
classic
for the duet,
patriarchy,
right? So, but he's singing, and like I think she has lines in pink that she's not singing right away. So he was gonna leave the stage, but then she starts, coming in.
But like as soon as like they decide to not be awkward, then they like have amazing showmanship,
chemistry. They're like Lincoln logs. They're
I think Zach, his mic is on like a stand, and he's like swinging the stand around.
They're professionals,
and the crowd loves it. There's a kid wearing this goofy Vikings helmet. He's clapping. Everybody's going crazy.
It's a good fun scene.
Once it's over, they go out onto like this balcony area. They're like, "Wow, you're so good! Oh no, you were so good! Have you ever sung before?" Well, Gabriella, I guess, sung in like church choir. But I think it is that.
Zach has never done.
Troy, it's
Troy.
Yeah. No, I'm about the b-ball.
B-ball. He's like, let's take pictures of each other. We'll share phone numbers. We'll text each other in the AM. And then Zach keeps on talking like, I really enjoyed. Gabriella's already walked away, and he thinks he's talking to her. Like, that was the most fun I've had on this vacation.
Well, before they exchange numbers, or somewhere in the middle of it, there's the fireworks go off to hit midnight, and there's kind of like they're standing next to each other, but like, I don't have anybody to kiss. Should we kiss? But they do not.
And then after the fireworks go off, there's a big avalanche that races.
The fireworks
down.
is pretty crazy. It reminded me of, I think it was even like 5 years ago at this point, but I think it was San Diego for the 4th of July. Somewhere in California, there was a fireworks display that was programmed accidentally, so that all the fireworks launched off at the same time. God. So it was just like broad daylight because there's so many fireworks going off. Jeez. But it was a pretty wild fireworks display. Yeah. So they send off these texts and, they met on winter vacation.
Yes.
Will they ever meet again? So this is a piece of trivia that I saw on IMDb that I was like, I don't know. I don't really buy it. But then seeing how the actual movie plays out, apparently, the basis for this script was some kind of script for a Grease 3.
Wow.
Where the two main characters are, I thought it was like the children of John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. If I guess maybe they don't get together. I don't know. They're somehow related to their parents. They're like the younger ones.
Weird.
And then they're star-crossed lovers in high school. So I was like, I don't know. That sounds like a bunch of bullshit. But then watching this movie of like, we meet. Then we're going to meet at school. Oh, this is so crazy. And I'm like, okay, maybe there's something to this. But Jacob's like, this is crazy. How could they end up at the same school? This is so stupid.
Yeah.
We get a 1 week later title card. Now we are in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're seeing Troy coming off of the school bus, and everybody's losing their fucking mind because Troy is so goddamn cool.
He's the king of the high school.
He's the playmaker.
It's a big school.
And captain of the boys basketball team.
Yes.
Corbin Bleu, aptly named Chad, comes up and he's like, hey, fuck yeah, man. How was your winter vacation? Yeah, I don't think that's a racist voice. That's more like a New Yorker. We go fucking kill this championship game coming up. Or I think it is like they're just prepping for a championship. Yeah. Never that they play any other games.
No, they don't have other games.
So we're setting up a lot of characters. I really liked this kind of sweeping through the high school
introducing
hallways.
Us to all the new people.
Very kind of Mean Girls, establishing different like cliques of like smart kids, jocks, cheerleaders.
Sharpay and Ryan.
Sharpay and Ryan are definitely the biggest ones. So Sharpay, Ashley Tisdale, Ryan, her brother, not necessarily twin brother, but close in grade level that they're both in high school at the same time. She's kind of like Legally Blonde. She's blonde, she's got crazy outfits, very clueless, but she is a drama kid and is all hyped up about this upcoming musical. Yeah. Ryan, her brother, very much coded as gay, and I think the director and actor were like, we played him as gay, but Disney Channel wouldn't like let us explicitly put it out there, unsurprisingly. Though it's funny, all the headlines that have come out within like the last 5 years of being like, Disney's first on-screen gay kiss, and it's just like LeFou dancing with a guy in like one scene of Beauty and the Beast, the live-action one, and it's Disney. Don't look for Disney for blazing a progressive path forward. They'll do it if it makes them money. They're cynical like that.
Dollar bills, y'all.
We also meet Taylor. She's a smart girl. She's on the Scholastic Decathlon team, and she's making some snide comments about, I don't know, jocks and Sharpay being, stupid because she's so smart. It was a quick and efficient introduction to characters. We didn't need a narrator telling us who everybody is.
The new girl, though, here?
Probably that Gabriella, I think she's with her parents because it's her new day of the new semester. She, I guess, moved
just so
mid-school year.
To be going to the same school as Troy.
Crazy.
Like, what are the odds? Imagine if she didn't. This movie would have never happened if she never would have went to that school.
I mean, you could say that about a lot of movies with plot points. So, very serendipitous again that all of the main characters all have homeroom in the drama club or the drama class. Well, probably, maybe my favorite character of the movie.
We didn't know it was like homeroom right away. At least I didn't.
The class seems to last about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was kind of goofy.
But we're introduced to probably my favorite character, Mrs. Darbus.
Yeah, Darbus.
The drama teacher who talks a lot like Tobias Funke in Arrested Development. She talks about musicals and the theater, and she's very flamboyant with her gestures.
Yeah.
And she hates cell phones, so everybody's cell phones going off in this class. And what did you know? All of our main characters happen to get detention because of cell phones.
Troy is trying... Well, I think the only person that texted was Troy texting Gabriella. Because, like, he sees her in the classroom. This is the first time, like, he sees her. He's like, oh, like, what?
Yeah.
So he's like, in, like, shock. And he, like, texts her, you know, like, a picture of himself, I think. Or, like, hey, I'm in the class or whatever. And then, like, you know, her phone went off. So, but, you know, and Tisdale and Ryan being probably... Their characters look at their
Were they both
phones.
in this class? Ryan and Ashley?
Yeah.
Then they have to be twins.
That's how they all got detention together.
So they have to be twins. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the same homeroom, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
don't know. I'll have to check the fan wiki after we record. They all get detention, and then homeroom ends, so they're walking out, and Gabriella and Troy are catching up, like, oh my god, it's you. This is so crazy.
But, like, she's also at the same time, like, kind of just, like, she's kind of leading him.
He's kind of, I think, trying to lead her along, because he's like, my friends don't know about me singing. Yeah, keep it cool. Keep it cool.
He's whispering. She's like, why are you whispering? Because my boys don't know. And like, oh, they just think you're a tough guy playing that b-ball.
Shooting them rocks. Swish,
bricks.
Swish. And as they're walking in the halls, they come across the sign-up for auditions for the High School Musical.
Yes.
The titular High School Musical that actually never happens. Maybe that happens in the second one. We see, like, the actual musical.
I'd be okay with that.
You'll allow that in the sequel?
I'll allow it.
And this is where we get some more of Sharpay, where at first she seemed to be much more, like, creepily and, like, sinisterly into Troy.
Yes.
Like, in kind of like a crazy obsessive way. Yeah. And she's like, oh, Troy, you could try out for the musical. You're so good at everything. But then it's like maybe she was being
mocking him
sarcastic or something.
Yeah.
But I guess I misread that at the start.
Yeah.
And then Troy is telling, I think maybe at basketball practice, he's telling Chad, Corbin Bleu, that he's like, yeah, maybe I'm thinking about trying out for the musical. And Corbin Bleu's like, you gay?
What?
And he's like, oh, I just thought, we get extra credit.
Extra credit, for college. He says for college.
And then he did, like, the whole, like...
like, for college.
We'd do it for a laugh. Like, wouldn't it be, like, funny if we just did, like, this musical? And then, like, we kissed or something? Like, just, like, for a goof or whatever. Like, wouldn't that be crazy? And then he also throws out, like, hey, Sharpay is kind of cute, too, right?
Yeah.
And then
he what did he say?
He said, Corbin Bleu says, so is a mountain lion. Which I didn't get.
I don't.
Actually, when Sharpay's first introduced, she's walking through the hall and kind of just being a bitch to everybody, and people call her, like, the Ice Queen.
Yes.
Which I don't think she, like,
cold as ice,
lives up to that reputation throughout the rest of the movie.
No, she's really not that. I don't know. She does a couple of
She's just
things.
Snotty.
Yeah, snooty.
She's as Jacob would say, she's a bitch. She's a twat.
A twat, yeah.
She's a twitch.
Oh.
Then we get your head in the game.
Yes.
So this musical kind of has its cake and eats it too, because the first musical number, they're singing karaoke. There is a reason in universe for them to be singing.
Yes.
I believe that is called diegetic.
Okay.
But here, get your head in the game. Troy, of course, does not want his team to know he's singing. So, of course, he's not performing this song in front of his teammates, who also all happen to be doing perfect basketball choreographed dance moves.
It's pretty good.
I like the choreography, don't so much like the song.
Fair.
But then, really, you have to interpret it as this is all happening within his head as they're practicing, that he's all worked up about. I guess I didn't really pay attention to the lyrics, but I assume it's, I can't think about singing, and I got to focus on getting my head in the game.
Yeah.
They go back and forth between diegetic music and then non-diegetic music, which generally, except for the big ending number, I assume not the whole school singing at the end, but most of them you can interpret as happening within the characters' inner
They're
thoughts.
Celebrating, yeah.
Then we learn that Gabriella is super smart because she corrects. Classic way to show that you're the new kid and you're smart.
The teacher.
You correct the teacher's formula.
A pi 16.
Yeah. Also, I love all these, especially like in anime, though maybe it's accurate in anime because the Japanese school system is far advanced to the American one. but they always have just crazy formulas where I'm like, I don't fucking understand
they're
any of this.
They're doing math, but they're in a science class. They were like, Sharpay was having to like peek under some weird like gas valves and stuff, and
it was odd. Taylor, who's on the Scholastic Decathlon team, is kind of eyeing her to be like, ooh, she's so smart. But Sharpay and Ryan, they keep seeing Gabriella and Troy always looking at this sign-up sheet, and they're like, oh, shit, they're going to try to take our roles in this musical.
Yeah.
So seeing that Gabriella is so smart, they like research her online, find out that she was really smart and won some awards at her previous school. So then they send in some papers to Taylor, the head of the Scholastic Decathlon team, to try to get her then on the Scholastic Decathlon team. And Sharpay and Ryan want that so that she will be too busy to try out for the musical.
Yes.
Got all that?
No.
High School Musical. You gotta put some pins and draw strings
like
between
Charlie
them.
Day. You gotta Charlie Day
exactly.
it up.
Follow the money. Jet fuel can't melt High School Musical.
Oh my god.
So then she's still kind of, I think Taylor approaches her at detention, which, since it's detention by the drama teacher, is just forced labor for all the students making props for the upcoming musical. So Taylor, the head of the decathlon team, is like, hey, you want to join? You seem really smart. Oh, I didn't send those to you. I don't know how I got them, but sure, maybe I'll think about it, but I kind of want to focus on my studies.
Yeah.
I think Troy and her are still kind of like making eyes at each other during detention.
There's still some, there's still some chemistry there. They're still working it.
Troy's dad is the basketball team's coach.
Troy's dad is an asshole.
He's legitimately terrifying.
He is. He is.
And
he's a scary
he's
dude.
A pretty strong
he's
villain.
Intimidating.
And I don't know if he fully endorses Troy in the end. He nods approvingly from the back, but the last conversation he has with him is like, I want us to play the game we love together.
Yeah.
Anyways, he is pissed that Troy has missed basketball practice because he is in detention.
Yes.
So he goes...
Troy gets there after they're done practicing, right?
No, because he goes to detention because I wrote down my favorite line of his. He says, what are you two doing in a tree? Because
he goes there.
They're working on a prop tree, him and Troy and Chad.
Yes.
And then he gets into it with Darbus, and the coach always called Darbus.
Darbus.
And I laughed a lot when he gave that delivery. There's a lot going on. There's kind of the major thing, as we'll be getting into even more, is identity. Expectations put on you. We kind of get a lot of that. Troy's dad is living vicariously through his son, putting a lot of his own self and pressuring him like that. Troy's seeing I like music. Maybe I don't want to be the basketball guy or just the basketball guy. That's a big repeated message.
Happy.
And then for a larger thing, we're looking at kind of the conflict between the arts and sports, especially within the school. Darbus is hey, sports aren't everything. Arts are underappreciated. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Troy seems like he's got a huge fucking house, and
it's a really nice house. He's got a really nice backyard
and a basketball
court, full court miracle.
And he's shooting practicing with his dad, and this is where he's like, "Hey, Dad, have you ever thought about doing something, and you were worried because your friends maybe wouldn't like it?" And the dad really should be like, what, you mean kissing boys? But he's like, oh, you mean going left instead of, I guess, going to the right to get around somebody in basketball?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was stupid. But Zac Efron, his hair in this.
His dad says you got to stick to the status quo, bro.
Very 2006.
Yes.
I guess we were crunching the numbers. I think he was maybe 18 in this. He does look pretty young, but I think the hair really helps him to look younger.
It's kind of like Bieber hair. Almost.
And I don't know if it's just that some of the South Park parody episode of High School Musical has drilled into my psyche for this, but so much of him feels like the metaphor is I like singing, but it's I'm gay or something like that. Played up even more than in Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, which was similar, sports versus non-masculine kind of things.
Yeah.
Of why would you want to cook, Eddie? Speaking of horrible dads, this dad in this movie is even worse than Eddie's dad in Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off.
I don't know if he's worse. He's more scary. He's more intimidating.
He is more scary. He's less sexist than Eddie's dad.
Yeah.
Then it is the day of the musical audition. Troy is going full Solid Snake, trying to get to the auditorium without anybody seeing him.
He's taking like some weird paths.
He's first got to shake off Chad following him.
And his dad.
But then his dad gets on.
Almost catches him.
But then he kind of just disappears into thin air.
He sneaks through some shop. There's
shop
class.
Auto shop at the school. Very nice school, it seems.
Yeah.
Though apparently doesn't have a math classroom. It has to be in the science room.
Yeah, what the heck?
We get a start of the tryouts, I would think, very inspired by American Idol, maybe, where we're getting lots of bad singers, and the drama teacher.
That was entertaining.
Mrs. Darbus, she does not mince words, really, with telling them that they're bad.
No.
My favorite ones there was a kind of performance art duo.
They're crawling on the ground, and they're
slam poetry.
They're like ASMR and stuff. Like, I can't remember what
and she's saying. Like, that was terrifying. Please go get therapy or something.
Yes.
It reminded me of literally the only really funny part of She's All That, which is now kind of in the topical area because of He's All That coming out, the gender bent version of She's All That. But there's a very funny performance art scene in She's All That, and it was the only good part of the movie. That's my recommendation to not watch She's All That. And apparently He's All That is even worse. Gabriella sees Troy that they're both kind of scared to go out. And they're like kind of trying to talk each other up.
Yeah.
While they're doing that, Sharpay and Ryan, they're trying out for the leads. The kind of male and female lead, so they're doing a duet song.
And nobody else has signed up for the duet, so they just have to do it because the teacher just wants to have them just praise the auditorium with their great
And there's a girl named Kelsey who's kind of the stagehand.
She's the playmaker.
We find out that she's the composer of the whole musical, which is kind of crazy, but also allows them to have a musical that is not licensed music in this movie.
And Sharpay and Ryan don't want to use her stuff.
Yeah, they have their own musical arrangement, which frankly I think is better than the one she has. And this is the song What I've Been Looking For. And I thought it was pretty fun. I think Ashley Tisdale and Ryan they bring a good energy with their their character comes through in their music, where I think Zac Efron and Gabriella or Vanessa Hudgens, again, not Zac Efron's actual voice. They're like good singers, but like they're kind of character-wise within their singing performance is pretty kind of just like, I don't know, hot people or like cute people or whatever.
Yeah.
Where Sharpay and Ryan are pretty funny.
Yeah.
She calls out at the end. She's like, you guys did great. Anybody else want to try out?
Nobody speaks up. They don't even speak up. I think they started... Efron starts to walk away, actually. And Vanessa's still like standing there kind of just like peeking out. And then
she jumps out to be like,
yes,
I'll fight him. Sorry, that was a very dated and probably nobody even would understand that was an old wrestling reference.
So the teacher's like, well... You missed the solos.
She's like, you missed the... I asked if anybody else wanted to try out. Also, you don't even have a duo partner with you.
Well, I'll do it.
And then Zac Efron says, I'll fight him.
Do it, yeah.
Sorry, no. The theater is always about timeliness.
Yeah, and then she leaves. Everybody leaves except Kelsey, who drops all of her scores on the ground.
And then they go over and be nice, and they're like, wow, you wrote all this music? It's kind of like you're the playmaker. Sorry, that's a basketball term. You're like the playmaker of this play.
Yeah.
Does it? And then
let me show you how it should really sound.
Let me teach you how to Dougie.
Yes.
So Kelsey plays it on the piano, and they read the lyrics off of her sheet music, and they do such a good job that when they finish, Mrs. Darbus
has been creeping.
Overheard them and says,
call back.
You get called back. You're going to Hollywood.
Yes.
And they're like, wow, that's so crazy. They gets posted on the callback list of who makes the callback for, I think the characters are Minnie and Arnold. And Ryan and Sharpay see this, and they're like, motherfucker.
They're PISSCD.
So she's pissed at lunch, Sharpay that is, and she's given this whole spiel about, Everything's being thrown out of whack. We're the drama people. We should be in this play. And this leads into callback to The Other Me. Big dance sequence in the school cafeteria. Yes. And my, I think, personal favorite song of the movie, which is Stick to the Status Quo.
Stick to the status quo.
So the general premise is everybody in the school knows that Troy, he's into singing now. So now they're feeling empowered to let their own secrets out. So we have one kid named Zeke who is on the basketball team, but he also likes to bake.
Yeah, he loves
But as he reveals his secret
creme brulee
in song, everybody's like, no, stick to the status quo or whatever. Quo. My hardest laugh in the movie is a girl who I think might be on the Scholastic Decathlon team. She's a kind of a big, pudgy white girl. And she says, my secret is I like hip hop. I'm all about popping and locking
and dropping.
And a kid comes up and goes, is that even legal? And I laughed very hard. And then the last major one.
Skater, stoner kid.
Burnout guy who says, I'm into the cello.
And then his buddy's like, what is that?
It's like a big violin. Which is probably how... That's actually how I described the viola.
He plays it. So. He plays it, but it's electric.
He pretends to play the cello, and then other scenes he has the actual cello, but then it cuts back to him not having a cello at different moments. But this is another big choreographed number.
A lot of people involved. A lot of, like 50 people probably. Yeah,
this one, it doesn't make sense that everybody's singing. We just have to be like, well, they're actually talking, but we're just seeing it in song form.
Yeah.
So I really like this because it kind of progresses some of the intrigue in the school surrounding like Troy and everybody. Getting some good laughs out of it. It's a funny number, big choreographed number. And I'm always a big fan of just the big group numbers. Like in Beauty and the Beast, I love the opening song Belle, where it's the bonjour. Yes. I love that song. I love the big numbers like that. And I think this one does a pretty good job.
Agreed.
The sequence ends with Gabriella, I think she's maybe walking towards Troy or something, and she slips on some milk and her lunch tray flies up. And I think Sharpay kind of goes out of her way to purposely get hit by the food.
Into her chest, but not like you would think it would land on her head because that's how it's falling, but we
can't mess up Ashley's hair. So then Mrs. Darbus appears and Sharpay just goes like, see? I told you we shouldn't trust them. Troy, the basketball guy, he's just trying to pull a prank on us drama kids. Yeah. He's actually faking being good at singing.
He's going to ruin your theater performance.
So Darbus then is actually worried that
she's
there is going to be a prank. So then, she goes and yells at the coach or something. I don't really remember what they discussed. Chad follows up with Troy to be like, you see what's fucking happening in the school cafeteria? You're destroying the school. You're the basketball guy. You can't be the singing guy.
No,
you gotta tell people.
Is out of whack.
There's some people out there that are trying to do stuff that's not their stuff.
Yeah.
They gotta stay in their fucking lane.
That's bad.
And it's
a bad
like,
message for children.
Is Chad the villain of this movie? Fucking Chads, am I right?
Jesus.
Gabriella gets a note in her locker that leads her up to the rooftop kind of greenhouse growing area that the science club hangs out at. And there's also the secret hideaway spot for Troy because the jocks on the basketball team don't know about it.
There because it's science.
So this is a scene where we really see Troy bearing his issues here, his identity issues of being like, well, I kind of like singing, but I'm the basketball guy, and my dad really wants me to play basketball, all that kind of stuff. It is pretty heavy-handed, but I don't know. This movie... I can see, like, this movie is so perfectly manufactured and, like, tuned to just be, like, teenage, like, teeny bopper catnip. Yeah. You know, angsty stuff like my parents don't understand. You got the love of music, so that's targeting a certain demographic, too. You got the cute boys like Zac Efron.
Sports.
So it's very Disney Channel with it's kind of, my dad wants me to do this. I'm Johnny Tsunami.
They're checking all the boxes, but it comes off in a way that it's not like cheesy.
Yeah, it's very earnest and doesn't feel like cheesy it feels cheesy, but it's not like cynical like it could be with something like so. Again, did they think this would be big? Probably. Did they think it would be this big?
No.
Probably not. So it doesn't have like that cynical aspect of like, we're very much targeting these specific things to get this demographic.
Yeah.
So they eventually decide between each other that let's do this callback. We're all about this
We're
music
all in this
stuff.
together. Dude.
I will say that I think the middle of this movie kind of sags a bit.
Yeah.
It's on the longer side overall, but there's a good portion of like the middle of this movie where I'm like, there's no songs. It's just like
there wasn't for
drama stuff. Then we get one Vanessa Hudgens song coming up, and I'm like, that song wasn't that good.
No.
I want the big energy songs.
Yes.
So I guess the big game is coming up, and we're seeing kind of conflict with them being like, let's do this callback. So we got a practice montage, but Troy's missing practice because he's hanging out with Gabriella. Gabriella comes to practice, and then Coach sees her and is like, get that girl out of here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Get your head in the game.
He's a dick. Yeah, so Troy shows up late to practice, and he's like, Dad, I'll shoot free throws. He's like, it's good to see, you're going to do some effort. And then he leaves, and then he's shooting shots, and Gabriella comes up. And then Dad kind of like immediately comes back, and he's like, this is a closed practice. It's only available for...
After Gabriella sunk a couple shots.
Yeah, she did.
So once she walks out, the dad's like, the big game's fucking coming up.
Yeah.
You are not a singer. You're a basketball player.
Yeah.
So, what was that? The championship game? Big game coming up? Never. How could that happen?
We have 2 big games.
Hey,
we have 3 big... Oh, my God.
Don't spoil it.
3 big
I almost
games.
knocked over the microphone.
Oh, my God. I'm just realizing it.
So Chad and Taylor, so Taylor is the head of the Scholastic Decathlon team. They conspire together because they're like, hey, if they're too busy singing, they're going to hurt both of our teams.
True.
Because at some point, Gabriella does agree to join the decathlon team. So they have this whole intervention where the basketball team shows all these like legendary high school basketball players from their school.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, were they just good high school players, or did they actually go on and do something? Because it's like, if they weren't a big deal in the long run, then why does Troy need to really worry about basketball?
About them, I think. And one of the people is Troy's father.
Yes, the last one.
They show.
You can't disappoint the coach and the legendary player himself.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Trip there.
Zach Efron might still go for that.
Yeah.
And then Taylor's giving a presentation being like, Caveman grew up to be dumb jocks. We're smarter than them. We shouldn't deal with their bullshit. And Gabriella's like, okay, maybe, but why can't I also sing? I don't really see the conflict here. And then as the sports team is getting harder in on Troy, and he's like, okay, guys, you know what? It's just singing. She's just a girl. You know what? I'm always going to be there for you. And then they had a video camera, webcam, piping in the footage to a laptop in the decathlon team's area so that Gabriella sees all of this stuff he's saying. Oh, my God. How could he say those things?
I missed the part where they were going to set that up. Like, was there like a scene where they set it up? Like,
there's a scene of them talking to each other, and then they go to school, and they're like, okay, synchronize your watches. But they don't go into the specifics. It's just, once it happens, it's like, oh, that's what they planned all along. They were using 2006 school Wi-Fi, I guess, to connect them together.
Yeah.
Jacob, at this point, was falling asleep.
Sleeping. Yeah.
So I'm like, Jacob, you can't fall asleep during the High School Musical episode. So he gets woken up just in time for Vanessa Hudgens to have a very sad song. The title was When There Was Me and You.
Yes.
So she's thinking about
it's
how it just used to be them singing.
This is like the first kind of like, all the other before this were like groups of people, right? Like this is just like, this is the first solo one, isn't it?
I mean, technically Get Your Head in the Game is kind of a solo song, because it was mostly just Zac Efron singing, but there was other people dancing with him. But yeah, this is her very, very weird. Sad song. And she's just walking through the halls of the school.
Up and down stairs.
Hanging out by some railings, doing mild choreography on railings.
But again, like we mentioned, like how Zach's it's all in his head, like in the first one that he does. So all the halls are empty. Everything we see is empty when she's singing. And then as soon as she's done singing, then they're just full of people. So that's kind of cool. I do like that.
There is some good transition shots between scenes.
A lot of good transitions. In
so
this movie.
Right as all these people pop up, she goes to her locker, and then Troy's there. And this is where Gabriella says, You know what? Yeah, you know what? I think let's not do the tryout anymore. I think we both singing stupid. Let's just focus on ourselves.
She hates him because they set him up.
And Troy's like, but I'm Troy. Yeah. I'm Zac Efron. What's going on? Exactly. I love to sing.
My thoughts.
So then we get a dramatic montage that I don't know if it so much shows that Gabriella. Yeah, I think it does show that maybe Gabriella's struggling academically or with the Scholastic Decathlon team. And that Troy is struggling in basketball, and their games are hurting.
Yeah.
So then, quickly, the teams decide to turn around and be like, actually, maybe we need to get them together so that they do better with the stuff we care about.
Yeah.
Troy is easy to convince of this. He's like, yeah, sure, I like singing, let's go do this. But Gabriella is still kind of unsure. So Troy goes to her house, and he rings the doorbell, and her mom comes in for her second scene in about an hour.
Mama.
And she's like, Gabriella doesn't really want to come to the door right now. Sorry, Troy.
Sad.
So Troy, being a Chad, maybe, being an alpha male, does not take no for an answer. So he sneaks into her backyard, calls her on the cell phone, and he's talking to her, and then he eventually at some point says, turn around, and he's standing on her balcony.
But we didn't get to see him climb up the
We did not.
Sad.
Very sad. I kind of thought when they had established in a previous scene that she had a balcony, that he was just going to be like singing outside of her balcony for a scene. But I guess this works too, because he gets up on the balcony, and then he starts singing the song that they sang in the duet karaoke at the beginning of the movie.
Started something new.
And he's like, I'm still that guy. I'm the guy from Winter Break. I love singing. I was just telling those guys those things to get them off my back, but I didn't really mean it. They make up. They're going to do their tryouts.
Good. Now they're good. They're already good.
They both magically start improving their games and their various activities.
Yeah.
They're
draining the shots.
They're practicing individually with Kelsey, the song that they're going to perform. Yes. It's getting closer to tryouts.
It is.
These tryouts are on a Thursday. But unfortunately, Ryan and Sharpay become the first maybe outside of Quince, become the first self-aware Disney Channel original movie characters, because they go, so the tryouts are on Thursday, but the championship basketball game and the Scholastic Decathlon meet are both on Friday. Wow, it would sure be bad if these things all happened on the same day. So, of course, we're going to get a big game conflict, multi-big games.
What was it that they said to the Darbus to have her change it?
I don't really know. I think they just said, clearly we've laid out that it would be a benefit to our drama club if we have the tryouts on Friday. So then Darbus was like, you know what? I think you're right. Yeah. So we don't really know, but I really appreciated, especially the next shot that it sets up that we get a title card of like game day. Yes. And then above that, we see tryout day. And above that, Scholastic Decathlon day. And above that, help! Exclamation point. So the stakes are real. But actually, when they were convincing Darbus, Kelsey overheard that they are changing the day.
Was like hiding behind her little.
So they have a plan ahead of time. Again, we don't know what this plan is.
No.
We're seeing ahead of the championship game, dad and son, coach and player. They're having a pep talk, heart to heart in the locker room, and it's one of those things where it's like you would think it's going to be him saying, "Hey, I accept you for whatever it is." But as I mentioned earlier, it does kind of end with like, you're really good at basketball. I just want us to be able to enjoy this game we both love together.
But
playing your heart out in basketball.
In this moment, he's not as intimidating and scary as he's been in the past.
I guess not.
He's a little more, he's trying to be a better dad.
So then the game starts.
Yes.
Simultaneously, we're seeing the start of the Scholastic Decathlon team. And this is where I get a tangent, because Scholastic Decathlon is modeled off of Academic Decathlon. Extremely nerdy activity, so that's a good fit for the nerdy characters.
Yeah, you got that dialed in.
What they show of this, it's not accurate to Academic Decathlon. Academic Decathlon is basically you taking Scantron tests for about 5 or 6 categories. Yeah. Because there's 10 categories because of the decathlon.
Yeah.
Then you also will give a prepared speech and an impromptu speech. You'll write an essay ahead of time. And then there is one...
All as a team, though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And for us, it was divided up by I think it was 2 or 3 A people, 2 or 3 B people, grade level, and 2 or 3 C people. So you have wide range of people represented, and then I think it was the top scorers of your team then go up against the top scorers of the other team for each of those categories.
Yeah.
There is one section that is kind of like a head-to-head trivia game, which is called the Super Quiz.
Oh.
But it's more just everybody answers the questions at the same time. It's not like you buzz in before the other team.
Yeah.
Of course, there's no fun way to represent that in a movie. So that's why in the most prominent example of academic decathlon being used is in Spider-Man Homecoming, where again, they kind of set it up as more of a knowledge bowl, quiz bowl kind of thing.
Yeah.
But completely inaccurate. But it's funny because Spider-Man, they have the actual logos of academic decathlon.
Oh.
So decathlon, they were very much we'll sign off on you putting this in your major, huge motion picture, but probably being well, this is an actual academic decathlon.
Yeah.
Unless it's changed since I was in high school. So in this world, Scholastic Decathlon is a head-to-head kind of trivia thing where they're writing formulas and answering questions on the board.
But they're doing them too because they start a potion, or not a potion, but they start a...
Yeah, there's head-to-head science experiments. Yeah, because it doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's pretty hectic.
So, basketball game happening, decathlon meet happening, also tryouts happening.
So during the decathlon...
Well, before that, we get another great Ryan and Sharpay number.
Yeah.
Bop to the top.
Yes.
It's a pretty wild opening where both of these people, very white.
Ryan's got his 7th hat on of the day.
We didn't mention that while he's coded gay, it's sometimes questionable his fashion sense because he wears at least 2 or 3 fedoras in this movie.
It's more than that.
But this movie...
I think every scene's a different one.
But Bop to the top, he comes out, both of them, Sharpay and him, and they're speaking in Spanish.
Yeah.
And it's very cringy because, as I said, they're very white. At this point, I was confused because I'm wait, did they win the decathlon? Because it seemed like they were wrapping up. Because
it seemed like they were done. And
Taylor had pulled out a laptop.
Yes.
And is hacking into the school mainframe, essentially.
Into the scoreboard.
To turn off the power to just the gym.
Yes.
So then it gets delayed, the game in there.
Yeah.
And then also the decathlon meet wasn't done, and it gets delayed because somebody made a stinky science
bomb
potion.
Yeah. So
that clears out the room.
Yeah, so that room got cleared out, and then for safety reasons, the basketball arena had to get cleared out too.
They didn't have Judah Maccabee give them
the power. Oh man, that would have been a great callback.
So then Troy and Gabriella, they're racing to the tryouts, but they show up late.
Yeah.
Because Mrs. Darbus called out for them
to it
2 times.
She sticks to her timeliness thing, but all these people start coming in.
We did not get a go figure, let them skate moment though, unfortunately.
Let them sing.
But yeah, it's even the crowd from the rival team of the basketball team, I think, is coming in.
Everybody.
Because it's well, what else do we got going on? Somehow this school is hosting the championship basketball game, tryouts. And I don't know if it was championship decathlon.
The school is massive. We see it in the very beginning.
It is a big school. Kelsey is there, the piano player, and she's sticking it to Sharpay because Sharpay's awesome, we got the parts. Yes. And Kelsey's no, I'll play for them. And Sharpay's you fucking cross me, bitch.
Yeah.
And then there's also prop choreography that comes into play during their number.
A moon, some other stuff.
So they start playing. Camel. At first, Gabriella is too scared because there's this huge audience.
All the people.
And then Troy's just just think, it's just like the first time. It's just you and me. Just look at me.
You and I.
Which actually, the first time they performed, there was also a huge audience.
That's true.
Anyways, this is Breaking Free. Jacob seemed to know all of the words.
Soaring, we're flying.
I know that part because of
there's not a star in heaven that we
because people used it in a lot of vines back in the day.
Oh man, too good.
Jacob loves it.
Love it.
The crowd loves it.
They love it.
Darbus is into it.
Papa's even there.
Troy's dad shows up,
and Gabriella's mom.
Gabriella's mom shows up. So this is where Jacob's are they gonna hook up? Are they gonna become step siblings? And I'm yes, we're both into
happen. Where's that fanfic exists?
We're just step siblings. It's okay.
Fanfic is out there.
It's kind of funny.
What a pad.
Again, that this is diegetically, yes, they are singing in this moment,
Yes.
but there's more instruments coming into the soundtrack than just the piano.
A lot more instruments.
And also, while this tryout, they plan for prop choreography, like a moon descending
Drops
from
down. They
the
start
ceiling.
writing it up, and they
Very DreamWorks.
No, it's good. It's fun.
So they do good, and then, all right, let's get back to the other competitions.
Yes.
And everybody wins.
Like, everybody wins.
All of the characters in this movie, they get everything, but unlike the 13th year, it feels a little better.
Earned.
It feels a little earned that there
They
was
earned
actual
it.
character
not
growth.
not just given to you. Just
Sure, he does still stay amazing at basketball, and
Yeah.
he doesn't give it up to like go into singing, but
because
know
you can
what?
do it both. It's a message to kids.
You
don't
can
need to choose
have it all.
Yeah, you can have it all. You can be Troy frickin' whatever his name is.
And then in this moment, we're seeing people getting paired up. So obviously Gabriella
Yes.
and Troy are an
Sharpay
item.
and Ryan. No,
Well,
Sharpay.
hold it. But Taylor and I think Chad maybe.
Ryan doesn't get shit.
But the
with
funniest
anybody.
thing that we get towards the end of this number is
Yes.
Mrs. Darbus hooks up with the school mascot. And then also this little Asian boy who's always in the background of the tryout scene. So I like that attention to continuity
and
is
then
there.
there's a conga line.
And of course, you know what this is. It's We're all in this together.
Together.
Massive
All
final number.
Together. Like everybody
done in the gym. So
It's
the
fun.
audience is in there, cheerleaders,
Oh, God.
basketball team.
It's too good.
Multiple like dance breakouts of just like, all right, now you dance, now you
Yes.
dance. Huge choreography. I don't know if the lyrics are fully there. Kind of repetitive,
Yeah.
but the energy's there. You
They
gotta
gotta
love
be
it.
repetitive so kids that are like 10, 12 years old can remember what they're watching.
And it's about celebrating your differences. That you can be
Exactly.
different, but we're all in this
We're
together.
all in this together.
And we were kind of like, so
Together.
how do you think is this going to end? Do you think there's going to still be like a tie-up scene afterwards?
They
Or they're
start
just gonna
showing
Cut into credits. But
yeah,
I believe
roll credits during the
Disney Channel first.
singing. Yeah.
We get a mid. I'm so moved by we're all in this
Yeah.
together. We get credits as music is still happening. It's as
Yeah.
these credits are happening that in the background we see Mrs. Darbus dancing with a school mascot.
Yes.
And then we don't know what happens for all our main characters after that. We'll have to wait for the sequel. But wait, we also get a first of a
Oh
after
my.
credits scene.
Yes.
So Zeke, who had been established as the kid who liked to bake, and everybody thought he was a loser for doing it because he was supposed to be a basketball player.
He made a mean creme brulee.
He comes out, or he is, I don't know, he's the only one left in the gym, and Sharpay comes out, and he had given her cookies before, and she says, "These are the best cookies
It is
ever."
intense. She is like,
And she's like, "Can you please make more for me?" And she runs up to him, and Zeke
grabs
says,
him.
"I could maybe even make a creme brulee," and turns to the camera and smiles.
A very creepy
and that was the
smile.
last part of the movie.
It was a great send off to a great movie. Maybe a top 5 for me.
I think it's in my top 5.
It's gotta be.
I was looking at my top 5. It's tight, but I think it'll make it in there. I
Like-
don't think it supplants. I was gonna say, I don't think it supplants High School Musical. That's actually the cops coming to be like, you can't put High School Musical in your top
Top
5.
five.
I don't think it beats Don't Look Under the Bed. Some of
No,
that
no,
I think is
no.
definitely my preference for horror movies,
Yeah.
which we don't really get for Disney Channel original
No.
movies. But also that I do think there is the middle section or maybe like middle third or so in this movie does kind of drag a little bit. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of
I
music.
mean, I was falling asleep.
It's
Like,
kind
come
of
on.
Jacob was falling asleep, literally. Also, maybe a first for this podcast,
Yeah.
and that
Long wait.
it was kind of those situations where it's like, okay, we kind of get the basic idea of who these characters are, their
Yes.
conflicts. We see where this is going, and we just kind of have to deal with, expecting
Yeah.
what's going to come.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of. I think really the middle part of this movie lacks is Sharpay and Ryan, who I
They-
think are great
Yeah,
characters.
they could have definitely utilized them a lot more.
I wouldn't be surprised if in the other movies, this first movie, surprise smash hit,
Yeah.
cultural phenomenon.
I mean, and I
leads to stuff like Glee in
Yeah.
becoming into existence.
no, I
So
don't think
then-
any character's performance was a letdown. I think everybody was great.
Yeah, this is one where a lot of
There's not
good
really
performances.
a lot, like you said, outside of the middle, kind of like slow part, no music.
even the side characters like Mrs. Darbus
Yeah,
is great.
It was fun.
The coach
It was
is
scary, but
very
fun.
scary. I hope in the sequel we get more Sharpay and Ryan. I know that there's eventually a direct-to-video Sharpay like solo movie.
Yes.
I don't know if I need that. I think it's one of those situations where sometimes it's better to just be like the good side character. Otherwise, you might get like a Finding Dory situation.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted. I guess people wanted that, but we should not have. We don't want that. Yeah, I think we don't need to speak too much more effusively about High School Musical.
I freaking love it. See, and that's the thing.
But bring them on. Bring on the musicals. Bring on Camp Rock. Bring on Lemonade Mouth.
My goodness.
Give me the zombies. We still have to go so far to get to zombies, but I can't wait for zombies.
People, I mean, like we've talked about it too, like how this is like, the pinnacle of DCOMs and stuff. And like, I mean, there's a lot of hype. It's probably the most well-known Disney Channel original movie, obviously, but it lives up to it.
Because we talk
about... It deserves that.
Before, it's like, there was Halloween Town. Yes. There was stuff that like people
Xenon.
knew who were fans of Disney Channel, but High School Musical transcended beyond the confines of Disney Channel.
It's a phenomenon. Just, like, I don't know. Growing up, there was like Harry Potter, there was Lord of the Rings,
Okay.
No, but like, hear me out. But like, I think it was like that big of a deal. Like Harry Potter, like, the Hunger Games, or, stuff like that. Twilight, High School Musical. I think High School Musical was that big of a deal. I think it was.
Maybe for some of those things. I don't think it's as big of a deal as Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings.
I mean, just
but definitely
like a
for
movement. As like
started a movement. Kids watched High School Musical. They took to the streets, rioted, and said, "We're all in this together." And that's how socialism finally happened in America.
It was that well known, though. I think it was a big deal.
Yeah, undeniably, it was a big deal. Launched the careers for pretty much all of these people. I think.
Look at Efron; he's still doing popular movies.
Yeah, like Baywatch. Everybody loved Baywatch. So if you want to write in and let us know your takes on High School Musical, your hot takes maybe, because you might, if you don't like it, you'd be going against us.
Hurt us.
Because I feel like High School Musical, I don't know if it really reached to the point of like hate like Justin Bieber or Miley Cyrus, where
no.
Could I go to maybe 10 years ago a comment section of literally any classic rock song on YouTube and be like, this shit's better than Miley Cyrus, Justin Bieber, and High School Musical? I don't know if High School Musical would have made it in there or not. So maybe that speaks to it maybe not being... Lord of the Rings is better than High School Musical. That's all I'm going to say.
That triggered you, I think, that remark.
Yeah. If you
really,
be like Marvel Cinematic Universe, yeah, sure, you can have that.
It's a movement.
Obviously, the dollar figures don't exactly match there. But I don't think I said the email. A whole new pod at podcast. A whole new pod at gmail.com. Yes. Write us in there.
Check out the YouTube, the Spotify, subscribe, like every video.
Yes.
Follow.
Real quick, actually, the day we're recording this.
Oh, yeah.
Is September 10th.
9/10/21.
So.
What's 9 plus
Never
10?
remember.
It's only one.
High School Musical. Could the cast have stopped 9/11?
Yes.
They're all in this together.
They were the ones that crashed the plane in the field. They
were on that plane.
We're all in this together. They did it.
They banded together in song to throw basketballs at the terrorist's head.
Yeah.
All right. I like that.
Yeah.
I'll take that because the room we're in is getting hot again. So I'm ready to wrap this up. Jacob already plugged some stuff. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, again, YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Spread this episode around. I know this is going to be a big movie for a lot of people. Could be a good entry point for people to come into the show.
Share this to 10 friends.
Otherwise, you're cursed.
You're cursed.
Your parents are going to die.
It will.
Spread this around.
Your crush will die.
Because this could be a new era for our podcast, too. We're entering a new Disney Channel era. Maybe get some new listeners in. Spread the word. Twitches didn't break our numbers or anything. Maybe High School Musical will be the one to do it. And
that'll do it.
With that, I don't know what to say.
We're soaring. We're flying.
Zoom, zoom.
Got my heart go.
Hey, Dad, this is Noah. Remember I've been talking about him a lot?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Okay. I feel like I know you. He talks about you so much. He told me about the alternator you put in the truck.
Oh, actually, Kevin helped out too, so...
Yeah?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was so cool. I had no idea you could do that yourself.
Well, that's what friends are for.
Hey, Mrs. Peterson.
Hey, Noah.
Oh, looks perfect. You tell him what happened this weekend?
What happened?
Oh, there was a big thunderstorm up here. You guys didn't get it up there?
No, beautiful. Dries the bone at the lake.
Well, it got pretty wet here.
Wow.
You know what? Big day tomorrow, first day of school. It's getting kind of late.
It's like 8:30.
Oh, no. Actually, I gotta get going. It's a big day tomorrow. I'll walk out with you, Mr. Peterson.
Oh, I'm gonna stay around a while, thanks.
Well, I'll walk out with you, Noah. Yeah, come on. Do you want to take a cookie for the road?
Love your mother's cookies.
They're great, right?